Serena Williams is obviously one of the greatest tennis players of all time and has inspired so many women throughout this time. And through that time, she inspired somebody by the name of Naomi Osaka, who now in return has beat her in a tennis match last week. I want to know y'all's reaction to this match, and is it time for Serena Williams to hang it up? I'm going to start with Darren.
Listen, I get it. 100% I get it. I get the pressure to try to create her retirement. I even get her crying off. I understand the narrative completely. She's 39 in a game where, well, honestly, in sports where it's not really kind to age. I get it. Her heir apparent in Naomi Osaka is here. She seems to not just be the future of women's tennis. She seems to be the present. We know that Serena is going to be the face until she retires, but it looks like it's Osaka's time to start being a more highly successful player. I get it, and she hasn't won a title in a while. Trust me, I understand. But the thing that you have to get is not like she's not competitive anymore. That's not the case at all. Since coming back from the birth of her child, she's went to 4 finals and 2 semifinals. Now, I understand she hasn't won a Grand Slam in that time, and she's trying to get to the elusive number 24. That's what this is all about. It's about getting to 24. We look, Jordan, cool, we trying to get to Kobe, you feel me? That's what the thing is. We want to get to 24, and Osaka's been in her way a couple of times. But please, let's not add this pressure, because if she wasn't competitive, I'll be right there with you, because I don't want to see it. I'm an MMA guy. There's a reason that the UFC said, Anderson Silva, you're not fighting here anymore, because you're a legend, but you keep getting beat badly. As long as she's going to remain up there with the other girls, so she's right there. She seems to be right there, right? But she can't get over the hump. As long as she can stay in that class, in that area where we're right around the semifinals, finals, then it's plausible that she can get over the hump. And until she's no longer competing, we'll have a different conversation at that time. But until that day, I'm going to keep saying she needs to keep going. I'm not going to pressure her to ride off into the sunset. And I understand she's getting older, but if Tom Brady can win a 7th Super Bowl ring, if Tiger Woods can bounce back through everything, and win a Masters, and Sue Bird can win a WNBA championship all at or after the age of 40, I'm not going to push Serena out the door. I just won't do it.
So I think we have to look at this 2 ways. The first question we have to ask is Serena's body telling her it's time to retire? You have to ask Serena, how does her body feel? Secondly, I think this is a more appropriate question if Serena didn't qualify for this Grand Slam as this. You look at her ranking number 10 out of 128 women who qualified for the match. She ranked number 10. She knocked off the number 2 seed. And she happened to fall to Naomi Osaka, who ranked number 3 coming into this match. So we have to take her body into consideration with this. We're talking about a woman who has given birth, went away from the sport to give birth. She's battled with her ankle and things like that, came back, and she's still a top 10 talent in the sport. I feel she's higher than that. She's still a dominant force. Serena is body-wise fine, not in a negative sense, but I'm saying she's just that freak of nature. And so we have to give consideration to that. Tennis is a sport different from a whole lot of sports in the sense of longevity. If your body allows you to, you can play tennis pretty much at any age. And so we've seen that with Serena. I think in this matchup, we saw her get frustrated, and that was something that Naomi Osaka was able to capitalize off of, because Naomi is more of a mellow talent. And so she saw that, and she was able to capitalize on that with Serena. But I'm not ready to give up on Serena yet. I don't think it's time for her to retire, and I'm glad she's still chasing that 24. I think she'll hit her in this matchup just how close she was to getting it, combating all the adversity she was having coming into this matchup.
Yeah, I think that if you look at the matchup between her and Naomi Osaka and the Serena Williams, right? I respect everything that my colleagues have said, right, about her still being dominant and her being so close and continuing to push. And although she's lost these Grand Slam finals, she's still one of the best tennis players in the world, right? If you look at that matchup with her and Naomi Osaka, right? Naomi Osaka started off a little shaky, right? And it looked like, okay, maybe this was Serena's year. She started off 2-0 in the sets, and Naomi was looking a little shaky, right? But things turned around quickly, and Naomi took control of that match. And what we saw from Serena was the inability to move laterally like we saw her in the past. There was a lot of points that she was conceding simply because she knew she couldn't get there, right? And that's what we talk about the age, her being close to 40, you know, like her body, right, can't hold her to the same standard we do at 40 as we did at 25, right? When you look at Naomi Osaka, right, and Serena, she was hitting a lot of balls too long, right? She was hitting a lot of balls too long. Or when she was forced to move, she couldn't put all of her power to it and was hitting a lot of balls into the net. And after that shaky start by Naomi Osaka, it really kind of went from, okay, what's wrong with Naomi Osaka to a blowout of Serena Williams, right? And when you look at Serena Williams, she hasn't won a Grand Slam title in 4 years. And what Darian talked about, that number 24, right? She's not only trying to tie 24, but exceed it, right? Because we all universally look at Serena Williams as the greatest. Some say the greatest tennis player ever. Some say the greatest athlete ever. I think what's undebatable is she's the greatest women's tennis player ever, right? But I think she's always wanted to get to that number 24 and ultimately that 25 to solidify that, right? And say that the statistics that I've put up matches the narrative behind me and my success, right? When she hasn't won a Grand Slam title in 4 years, and we see this young phenom in Naomi Osaka, who has never lost, correct me if I'm wrong, past the semifinals. Like, she's undefeated in the semifinals round, and she's undefeated in the finals round. So not only is she dominant, but she kind of has that Jordan instinct to her, where it's like, once she gets to that round, you're not touching her, right? And I don't see her going anywhere anytime soon. And so the thing with Serena Williams is, obviously she's still really good, right? Obviously she can still beat most people in a tennis match, right? But like I said, she hasn't won a Grand Slam title in 4 years. And so when we project that out further, we say, will she be able to win 2? Because 1 doesn't do anything for her but tie her with, I don't even know the lady's name, I'm not gonna pretend to know it, but tie her for the all-time lead, right, in singles, right? 2 is going to win it. So if we say she hasn't won a Grand Slam title in 4 years, are we expecting her to get 2 soon? Right? And so that's the only thing I'm going to say. I'm not going to say that she should retire, but when she's considered the GOAT of her sport and the standard is so high that the only thing we're measuring her by is, can she win these Grand Slam titles? Kind of the way that we started measuring Tiger, where it was only about Masters. And I think at one time, which is crazy, it was a foregone conclusion that Tiger Woods would pass Jack Nicklaus and that Serena Williams will ultimately be at the top of her sport. And now we look at it, it doesn't seem like either one realistically may get to the top, which is disappointing. I don't think that she should retire because she's still playing at such a high level. But like Darian said, what I don't want to see is that we continue to see her struggle and we continue to see her decline and she never gets to that point. And then we start talking about, should she have walked away in 2020 or 2019 or in that match with 2018 where she was completely out of character against Naomi Osaka, or 2017, whatever. So I hope that if she continues to play, she's still at a level that she can compete and ultimately win another Grand Slam, hopefully 2. But if she's not there, then I think that she's closer to retirement than she isn't. So
yeah, I will say this. I do think 24 is just as important as 25, because at the least you can say I'm not 2. I'm 1A, 1B type of situation. But I want to pivot real quick and talk about Osaka, because I do think that as much as we're talking about Serena possibly retiring, and that is the storyline to follow, especially talking about her exit from that press conference, I do want to speak about Osaka, and she is a young phenom. I think that, John, that was probably the best way you could have put it. That's what she is. She's won 4. She's won all of her finals that she's been in. And she's honestly looking like she's next up, if not next up, present. It's no other really sense of debating. This girl is on a 21 match win streak. It's ridiculous. And it's one of those things where when we looking at Serena and there's people going up against her like Maria Sharapova, man, she dominated Maria Sharapova. And I think that was part of the thing that added to Serena's kind of her legacy, that fact she was going against other great players and dominated them. We're looking at Osaka, and I'm looking like, who's going to challenge her? Because I remember when Sloane Stephens came up, and no disrespect to Sloane Stephens, since then I haven't heard about her as much. I've heard about Osaka continuously, all for her performance on the court, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. And I know we're talking about Serena possibly retiring, but we have to talk about, or at least I have to talk about, Osaka rising up and becoming the future face of women's tennis. And I just have to do that.
And that's a great point, Darian. And I think that what concerns us all is that we clearly see now at this point, because I'm forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the third time they've matched her.
I believe
twice in a Grand Slam. And Naomi has pretty much handled Serena each time, right? And so we're looking at the greatest of all time, and we're saying she's met her match, right? This would be the equivalent of if Tom Brady would have lost 45-17 to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. We would all be on here saying Tom Brady is done, right? So I don't want to get on here and say that Serena Williams needs to retire, right? But the eye test, right? We all see what we all see. It's Naomi's time, and Serena's time might be done, unfortunately.
Definitely some interesting points made. I also want to make one interesting point. I think John kind of touched on it, but when you really look at the careers and kind of the scope of Serena Woods, it's very interesting. Both basically the greatest of what they do, arguably, both really trailblazers for the Black community in terms of their sport, in a white dominated sport. And now they're at this point in their careers where it's like, I want to get this record, but is it really available? Is it really possible for them? We saw Tiger Woods win a Masters when nobody ever thought he would win another big one, and he did that. I wouldn't be surprised if Serena gets another one. 2 might be a lot, but we will see. We're all wishing Serena good riddance with everything going on. We hope she gets 2 more so she can break that record. Y'all tell us what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time at SOS Discussion.